Logan, back from your trip up north. I'm actually wearing
the Great White North. We weren't in the Great White North, but we were within shouting distance of it.
I'm wearing my Bills hat today, though, so you were...
Oh, yeah. You could see it across the river, the Great White North.
The Canadian side's cool. Did you go? You didn't see Niagara Falls.
No.
The joke is...
We were all making jokes about how we hated Canada, and we weren't going to go there. So we would shout insults across the river at Canada.
My dad, when he was in college, used to try to hit golf balls across the gorge because he went to Niagara University.
That's pretty cool.
You can't hit the golf ball across the gorge, but
no,
college kids will try.
One day someone will do it, and it'll be the stuff of legend.
Whenever there's like an event in Buffalo that's televised, like a sporting event or something, the joke is usually like over under how many times are they going to like show Niagara Falls in between commercials.
True.
There it is again.
It's really the only thing to look. Actually,
That's
I thought Buffalo was a cool town. Like the architecture is all really old school. It feels like it's kind of frozen in the 1930s or something. It's very nice.
Yeah, it's cool, and it's actually coming back, the downtown area. It's got kind of a hipster vibe. I don't know if that's maybe the right way to put it, but got some cool bars, breweries, UB, and the kind of keeps it young and the vibe going. So
yeah. So we were up there to film a music video, which is pretty cool. We don't do that very often. It's something we want to do more.
Have you done a music video before?
We have done a music video before. I wasn't part of the shoot, though, so I hadn't done it. It was like a parody song that a friend of ours did called "The Day the GOP Died."
Oh, yeah, I remember. That was a great video. That was hilarious.
But this is a lot better. Like, I think we did a lot better job with this. We're a lot more advanced. And so that was a lot of fun. We did a marathon, like 12-hour day shooting it, and we got it done.
And you got a Kibbe on Liberty done, too.
We got a Kibbe on Liberty done, too. And we're going to... That's coming out this week. As you see this, when this one airs, it'll be coming out 2 days later. So that's cool. With the musician, blues rock guitarist Tommy Z.
Who's been on a Liberty Pub.
He's been on Liberty Pub, yes. And that'll come out. And then we're going to try to have his music video done before the drop of his album, which is May 28th.
Oh, man. So crunch time.
So Sam's got to work on that. Be on top of it. But yeah, it should be awesome. It was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
It's nice to be able to like go full creative and do whatever you want and not worry about like making it look natural or, we just want to make a steady interview with this subject in the center of the frame. Like this, you can go crazy and use weird lighting and, put people all over the place. It's fun. That's fun.
So kind of a unique experience from what kind of breaking, I guess, what we normally do it for the people.
Yes, definitely a little bit different. And, we want to branch out and do more stuff like that.
Stretch your artistic portfolio and talents.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. I'm glad you had fun in Buffalo.
Yeah, I like
my Bills hat on
Got
today.
some authentic buffalo wings.
I'm about to ask if you had buffalo wings.
Yeah, they were really good.
Do you dip?
They weren't like transcendently different than buffalo wings you get anywhere else, but they were high quality wings.
Yeah,
I was happy.
It's buffalo wings are buffalo wings.
I don't think it was like, you have to have Guinness in Ireland. It's not the same anywhere else. No. Like I have had equally good buffalo wings elsewhere, but it was good.
That's true. And you get a lot of people. Buffalo has a lot of people have left the city of Buffalo, but it's growing, it's coming back. Now, what do you dip your buffalo wings in?
I'm a blue cheese man.
Good job. They don't do ranch.
Yeah, I don't get why people would want to use ranch.
You only do blue cheese in Buffalo, but if you talk to Buffalonites secretly, there's a ranch contingency.
What was the adjective you just used? Buffaloniites?
Yeah, I don't know if that's... I just made that up on the spot.
Very creative.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, we're always adding new words.
Absolutely.
So, while you were gone, things have gotten a little crazy.
Yeah, tell me about what happened while I was gone.
Yeah, well, I was sitting at home working alone, and I got a phone call from a buddy. And I don't pay attention to the news as well as I should be. He's like, better go get some gas, man. I'm like, what are you talking about? I was like, gas shortage. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So, quick Google search, confirmed it. And I was like, this is like the toilet paper.
The panic buying is so frustrating. It's like, why do you people like this? Just like calm down. Like, if people don't panic buy, it'll go back to normal really fast. But
I knew my wife had a couple things she wanted to go to, so I texted her. I was like, you better fill up.
Yeah.
I drove into town right away. I was like, oh, I'll top off because I want to come see Logan.
Did you see that photo that's been going around of the guy with all the trash bags full of gasoline in his trunk? He's going to die. There's no way he's going to survive that.
I might be wrong, but I remember as a kid doing I can't remember why we needed to. We were making my Pinewood Derby for Boy Scouts with my dad. And we needed like gasoline for some reason with the painting. So we put a little bit in a cup, a plastic cup. And it was like a cheap flimsy plastic cup. It dissolved
immediately.
Yeah. I remember I was sitting there. I was like, "Dad," he picked it up. It's just perfectly dissolved. And as I was watching that video, I was like, "I'm pretty sure that gas ain't gonna be in the bags when she gets home."
Yeah, it's gonna be a mess in her trunk, and you better hope nobody lights a match anywhere nearby.
Yeah. Oh yeah, bizarre. And first gas station I went to, out of gas. So I was like, okay, wow, missed this. Next gas station was fine. And then I work at home, so it's not that big of a deal.
It seems dumb to have like the opening or closing of a gas pipeline connected to the internet in a way that it could be hacked. Like, just have a lever that some guy has to physically go and pull, and then you're set, you know? Why would they set it up that way? It seems like a recipe for disaster.
Did the hackers, did they make some money off of this? Or?
Yeah, I think they paid them. I think it was like negotiating with terrorists. They paid them off.
They better paid a lot of money.
I bet they did.
I work for
Think about how much money like per second you're losing as a gas company if your pipeline is closed.
I've done work with gas stations to help prevent, in my tech side of the world, like repairs. And like taking one machine offline for repairs is losing like $250K like a day or something. So you take like 10 off, you're in the millions.
Yeah.
And, you know, they have so many pieces of equipment to shut stuff down. So they have a lot of money, but it's very expensive.
Yes.
So, but before we go any farther.
Oh yeah, we should probably drink something because this is last call and all.
I brought back my Japanese whiskey, but also my friend came over the other day and brought a bunch of samples and left them. So I did bring the Macallan.
Oh nice. Let's sample the Macallan.
Double cast. So I brought that as well.
Yeah, let's sample that. That'll be fun.
So, but all of these gas shortages, everyone running to the pump. Created immediately. I saw at least the Attorney General of Virginia put out the government put out a state of emergency, and the Attorney General said no price gouging.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about that because the anti-price gouging laws is one of those areas where like almost everybody is completely misinformed about it and has the wrong opinion because they don't understand how incentives work or how economics works. And so everyone's like, oh, these evil profiteers trying to profit off people's panic and desperation, aren't they terrible? That's how everyone thinks about price gouging. But actually, like, price gouging is a super important price signal that helps ration the scarce product more efficiently. And it's really important that you let that happen. And if you don't let that happen, you end up with these crazy shortages where everybody's out of gas. And you get people filling up, plastic bags or these big tractor trailers full of gas and hoarding it when they don't need it, The price is a signal that shows you how available something is or how valuable it is. And if the price there's two things that happen. First of all, if the price goes up, you're going to buy less of it because you're like, oh, do I really need that gas? Do I really want to pay that much for it? So you're not just going to like panic buy tons of it. You're going to buy it if you need it. So that's a good thing. It helps people not overbuy in a crisis like this. And then the other aspect is on the supply side is if people around the country or around the world see, wow, the price of gas in Virginia or Georgia or wherever this happened, like really shot up overnight, there's profiteering to be made. You can go there and sell gas to make money. So people will transfer that scarce resource into the place where it's needed in order to try to make money off of it. And that's good. Like we saw that with like Hurricane Katrina with water,
Yeah.
Like if no one's going to take water from, the Pacific Northwest down to Louisiana for no reason, or just out of the good of their hearts. No one's going to do it. But if the price of water skyrockets in Louisiana and everyone needs water, then someone in like Washington State can say, hey, I can load up my truck with water and drive down there and make a bundle. So you get people providing the resource to the people who need it, which is really important. And if you ban price gouging, it doesn't happen. It can't happen.
Yeah, I'm sure there is a few charitable folks who will make a little trip down to a natural disaster, but it's never enough for the entire population. Incentives matter.
Yeah.
The buddy who called me and was telling me about this, I was like, well, they should just jack the price. I joked with him. I was like, oh, they should just raise the price of the gallon up to $20-$30 and we'll be fine. And I was immediately accused of being an opportunist. And couldn't convince him over the phone. I was like, oh no, it's going to prevent hoarding. I don't really need gas today, but I'm going to go get it, I guess. I could park my car here and wait. I have nowhere I'm going. But everyone now is running. I watched my neighbor run out with 3, gasoline cans, load into his car and take off. Like, what is going on? But so I was accused of being an opportunist. I ended up sending a quick little snippet video I found from like the Mercatus Center at George Mason on price gouging that they do, like the marginal.
When prices are high, people want to sell and people don't want to buy. So you increase the supply of something when prices go up. If you have a short supply or have a shortage of something, allowing the price to go up will make more people produce it or provide it.
Yeah.
So that's good.
People see it as an immoral argument, though.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it is immoral to charge. If gasoline's normally $2 a gallon or $2.50, it's now immoral to raise it to $5, $10, whatever the price may be.
Right.
And it becomes, we ignore the practicality of it.
Yeah.
And it becomes.
I don't know if I have a comment on whether it's moral or not, but it certainly is ineffective. If your goal is to get people the resources that they need, then that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So
I think it's amoral, but it's moral to is it moral to hoard? Is it more like we naturally think selfishly.
yeah.
Like in anything we do, we think about ourselves first, and for better or worse, you're not changing that in people.
Mm-hmm.
So no one's gonna sit there and be like, well, there's probably some poor lady I have never met that really needs gas so she can do whatever, get to the doctors to get her, her medication or she dies. I don't think about that. I need gas. I don't want to be inconvenienced. I'm going to hoard it in some trash cans. But
that little old lady can't get the gas if everyone else bought it because it was super cheap.
Yeah, so this price signal almost acts if I am now standing next to that old lady with the one person that has only enough gas for each of us, and I look at her as like, well, I don't need the gas, and I step aside. So if you remove that signal, or that high price makes me rethink about it, I've actually made a moral outcome. I didn't necessarily make a moral decision. I don't think I get credited for thinking about the old lady, but the outcome is the same, and I think it makes society better. But we ignore that. Everyone's like, well, I don't want to pay $5. That's immoral.
Yeah.
It's greedy capitalist gas station owner.
The more I think about, like, as the years have gone by, I've just become completely in awe of the price system and how many things it does, like, automatically without anyone having to manage it. It's like a magical thing. Like, prices are incredible. The way that they transmit signals instantly around the world, and those signals allow things to work, They allow the supply and demand to balance out. They allow people to get the resources they need in the time they need. And, it's so amazing how prices can do that without anyone having to really steer it or guide it. And, whenever anyone tries to steer it or guide it, the whole thing breaks down and it doesn't work, which is like a big point of the von Mises argument about why socialism can't work. The calculation problem doesn't work. And it just all happens automatically, which is fantastic. I think it's incredible.
Now, I watch like the politicians come out, especially in Virginia where I live, and they're all harping that they're not going to allow price gouging. And you hope that someone who wins statewide elected office is better educated than the average person. At least that would be the hope. And you would think they have to recognize what this is going to do.
I don't think they do. I mean, a few of them do.
Yeah, but do you think it is an incentive problem? Like, I'm more worried about my elected office or my governor race. If I'm attorney general, I'm running for governor.
It's both. It's definitely that problem, is that people are going to be angry, and this makes them look good. But, I think that if they really understood the economics, they could say, well, I'm going to look good by making sure that people get the goods that they need, and actually there won't be a shortage in my state, whereas every other state will have a shortage. I think that would make them look good, too. And I think some people would recognize that if they were smart enough. But I mean, people who run for office don't study economics. And if they do study economics, they study it in places that don't teach it properly. They study it in places that teach Keynesian economics. And so, yeah, I don't think most of them know.
And then, and to me, what Mises says, and he has a quote where one intervention begets the next intervention because the first intervention will fail, and so on and so forth. So
it's like the thing where you introduce the new species to take care of the pests, and they take over, and then you have to introduce another species to eat them, and you have to introduce another species to eat them, and it just stacks on itself.
It's like first intervention, no price surging, all right, or no price gouging, all right, that didn't work. There's a shortage. All right, now everyone only gets an allotment of gas, and you can only fill up on Tuesdays and Thursdays if you're a license plate or whatever.
Right.
And then that begets the next response to people being, and then on and on and on until...
Yeah, and there's all the people trying to find ways around it as well that you have to deal with.
The black market will always emerge.
It's crazy.
I was just waiting to come out and have my gas tank empty because someone siphoned it off.
Yeah.
I was like,
can you still do that, or like modern gas tanks have protections against that kind of stuff? I'm not sure.
That's a great question.
Like so many cars are just like complete computerized now.
You can buy inserts now. You can buy like this metal insert that you put into your gas tank, and it's kind of like a funnel.
Yeah.
That's like a metal funnel, obviously, so the gas can still get through, but it prevents like the hose from going in.
When we were driving up to Buffalo, we were like annoyed at how computerized the cars have become, because we had a new rental car, and it's just like it won't let you do anything. It just beeps at you. It's like you can't drift off to the side of the road. You can't get too close to the car in front of you. If you try to pass cars, it tries to automatically slow you down because it doesn't recognize the difference between passing and tailgating. So it just like automatically tries to slow your car down when you're trying to pass someone.
Everything's counterintuitive.
Yeah, it's like it's trying to make all your decisions for you because it's this giant computer trying to be safe, and it's pretty dumb.
So I'm always like 5 years behind the new model, so that'll be probably my next car buy I'll have to deal with. I'm still driving a 2013 because I'm just not there to afford all the fancy stuff.
It's not too useful, a lot of it, It
But the intentions are always pure.
The intentions are always
just like
pure.
a politician.
You know what they say about good intentions.
Yeah. Well, it is true. We try to design with all these great intentions, but there's so many intricacies to every situation. Like, did you think about the person who wants to pass, or the old lady who needs gas now and you've hoarded? Like, you don't think of all the endless, infinite amount of variables that happen instantaneously.
Yeah, it's such a problem with planning is you can't foresee all the outcomes and you can't foresee all the little unintended consequences. I kind of want to stop using the phrase unintended consequences because I think a lot of the time they are intended. Like, people are saying, oh no, the COVID lockdowns had all these unintended consequences. And I'm like, no, they were pretty well intended consequences. I think people knew that was going to happen and wanted it to happen.
Yeah. I hope they didn't. I'd rather have stupid good people. I don't know. What's better, stupid good people or smart evil people?
Stupid good people, obviously. Yeah. Smart evil people are the worst.
And speaking of, back to the COVID lockdown now. Now we're also, to pivot, I guess I'll pivot us a little bit.
Yeah, let's pivot.
Joe Biden issued the decree that you can take off your mask, Logan.
Yeah, I saw that. He gave this like really hostile ultimatum where he was like, the choice is yours. You can either get vaccinated or you can wear a mask until you do. And my comeback to that was, the choice is yours. You can either retire with dignity or you can experience cognitive decline humiliatingly in public. So
that's very true.
Yeah.
I saw a Joseph Stalin Twitter parody account that's just been retweeting like Joe Biden's account. That one was perfect.
That's great. I think people are taking the CDC recommendations seriously though, because I walked over here today and like nobody's wearing a mask outside anymore. 2 days ago everybody was wearing a mask outside. Now today nobody's doing it. I guess the CDC gave them permission, so now that they're feel like it's okay. I mean, it makes me sad that people feel like they need the CDC's permission to do it, but I'm glad at least that they're starting to wake up and see reason.
Now becomes now the next craziness I think is going to be the verification process. Which, did you send out the meme with? Did someone say it like papers? Someone sent a paper, please. No, I saw someone else. It
wasn't me.
It was obviously a meme about like papers, please, for your verification. But that's gonna be next because let's just say a company says like, all right, guys, if you've been vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask at the office anymore. Like,
well, how are you going to know who's who? Yeah, they're going to try to find out.
So now you're going to have to share that information with your employer. I don't know if that's a HIPAA violation or not. I'm not a lawyer because obviously if you send your kid to a public school, you have to prove that kid's been vaccinated. So maybe not. I don't know. I have to ask someone who's...
Yeah, I don't think it'll matter.
But it's going to create a whole nother level of bureaucracy now.
We have to see how, like, these venues, like concert venues and movie theaters and stuff, how willing are they to try to actually enforce this? Because it's going to be a huge pain to enforce. Are they just going to say, like, okay, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. If you aren't vaccinated, please do it, and then just not enforce it? Or are they going to actually try to enforce it? If they do try to enforce it, I think it's going to be a nightmare for everybody.
There's going to be technology. Some entrepreneurs can come up with technology now where I don't know how it's going to work, but they're going to try to track where you boop boop, scan your phone.
That's a good point.
Yeah, right
boop
there.
boop.
Yeah, boop boop. Yeah, boop boop technology. As you go in, it says if you're vaccinated or not. And
I think you just won the argument with boop boop.
We'll see. And then there's the endless questions now. Is this do you have to get vaccinated every year if you're for COVID?
Yeah, I keep seeing things about how it wears off, and like, oh, it's only good for 3 months or 6 months, and it's like, well, that seems not great.
So we're just gonna keep pumping our bodies full of whatever's in the vaccine. This is just, we're not thinking very far.
No,
it's not
long-term thinking at all. Like, I don't know. Like, I was walking over here thinking about this today, and I wasn't sure how I felt about it because on the one hand, like, it's good that they're giving you the option in a certain extent. Like, you can say, okay, well, we're going to have unvaccinated sections and we're going to have vaccinated sections. Well, at least you can go in. Yeah. Like, I was worried they were just going to say you can't come in if you're not vaccinated. I don't like the sectioning. I don't like the apartheid either. I think that's really bad. But it's maybe a little bit better than just saying you can't participate in society until you do this stuff or making it mandatory. So I don't like either, but, maybe we're moving in the right direction. Maybe people will just get tired of this. Maybe people will just say, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, or maybe the cost. We'll see how costly it is to enforce this. If the cost goes too high, we don't do it.
Yes.
I don't care how emphatic you are that we need to do something. At a certain point, you're like, it's not worth it. And we'll move away. I
decided the other day it would be fun to get into Congress, to run for office and get into Congress on a completely troll platform where like all you do is introduce like extreme exaggerations of what the liberals want to do. So you just say, okay, we're going to do the $100 trillion stimulus package. I'm going to introduce that. Or like, we're going to do the $100 an hour minimum wage package. I want to introduce that and just see how many people will vote for them.
Just spend 2 years. You write a pretty interesting
2 years
book.
trolling,
Just admit it, guys. That was a joke.
Yeah. I mean, but it probably would backfire because people would vote for it. Remember, I was talking about this. Remember the $1 trillion coin idea?
I don't know if you've told me this.
Oh, it was a real thing.
Oh.
When was it? It was like 2014, 2015, somewhere in there, maybe 2013.
Okay.
And people were talking about how to deal with the national debt, and like a bunch of people came out and said, well, why don't we just mint $1 trillion coin and keep it in the treasury, and then we'll have enough money to pay off the national debt. Like, no problem. And like, people thought that was a good idea. Like, there were serious people who said, yeah, that will work. No problem. Like, it's obviously insane and won't work. Like, it's just clearly ridiculous. But there were serious policymakers who thought it was a good idea.
I want someone to walk me through the logic there. Like, where does money get its value? First of all, explain that to me.
No, we just tell people. We just say that's worth $1 trillion because we said so.
If the Treasury says it's worth $1 trillion, it's $1 trillion, buddy.
All right, problem solved.
Okay, well, in that case,
Can you break $1 trillion? I want to buy a pack of gum.
Sir, no.
I'm really happy that didn't happen, but it came kind of close to happening. You know,
that's people are wonderful. That's what I think.
People are wonderful and also awful.
This is why we've talked about this often too, where I don't think democracy is that great because the general public, and I'm one of the general public, there's a lot of things, most things I know very little about, so I shouldn't be voting about it.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't want the populace to be deciding policy either. And I also hate the expert. It's a conundrum, my man.
Well, that's like the whole idea of the representative republic, right? Where you elect someone who knows more than you do, theoretically.
Yeah, theoretically.
And they'll take care of that decision making for you.
That's what the Attorney General in Virginia just did. No price gouging.
I don't think it really works as well as we thought it was going to initially.
This is why localized, decentralized decisions are the best. Just give the people freedom. We're going to figure it out. It will be a little messy along the way, but it's going to be a lot. When we mess up, we can change quicker.
I saw this. I was thought about you because you like C.S. Lewis. Someone shared this C.S. Lewis meme the other day, and it was allegedly a quote, I guess, from the Screwtape Letters, and it was a long quote about like, "Oh, I got people to be afraid to leave their homes, and they were literally terrified to go outside, and so that's how I got their souls. They gave up their souls willingly." C.S. Lewis, the Screwtape Letters, 1940, whatever. And I was like, I'm pretty sure C.S. Lewis wouldn't use the word literally in that way. I'm calling.
Did you look it up?
Yeah, I looked it up, and I was like, there's no way that's a real C.S. Lewis quote. The word literally really tipped me off, and so it turned out to be fake. Okay. But it drives me nuts when people share fake quotes, and they're like, look at this quote from 100 years ago, it proves my point.
Literally.
Like, no, it's if you're gonna write a fake quote, like, do a better job of like getting the tone of the time period and the author. Remember
what the famous Abraham Lincoln quote meme, if it's on the internet, it's true. Abraham Lincoln.
Absolutely.
But the CS, I could see where that would be believable, because Screwtape Letters, highly recommend reading it. It's a good book.
I got to get to it. I want to read it one of these days.
But yeah, there are a lot of excerpts in that book where it seems that C.S. Lewis had some alarming foresight into predicting. I mean, just his grasp on human nature, which I feel like if you just look and study a little history and then look at how we act and compare the two, you're like, wow, people are people no matter what time period we're in.
A person's a person no matter how small. Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
Horton Hears a Who.
Yeah.
Which is, we have that book at home with my children. But for some reason, it's not super popular.
It's not a very good one, I don't think.
Yeah, my kids aren't a big fan of it. I can't remember
Dr.
why.
Seuss can get a little preachy sometimes, which I don't like.
You think so?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, I like the ones that are just rhymes with no message. Like, Fox and Socks is my favorite Dr. Seuss.
Is that one of the banned ones?
No, Fox and Socks is okay. Like, I think that I saw it at Mulberry Street and a couple other ones I'm not really familiar with or banned. But Fox and Socks is just rhymes. Like, there's no plot. You know?
What about Green Eggs and Ham?
Green Eggs and Ham is pretty good.
That was the first book I ever read by myself, I remember.
I like that because it's like, if someone won't say yes to you, just keep bullying them, and then eventually they'll agree, and then they'll be on your side. That's the moral of Green Eggs and Ham.
That's the American way. I've seen a few professional athletes, also speaking of bullying, that have come out and said, I'm not interested in the vaccine. And the Twitter mobs are upset. But I think it's an interesting predicament because we have such an obsession with celebrities in our culture. And we almost treat them like they are enlightened. And then when a celebrity, a professional athlete comes out, I'm like, I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, professional athletes are so dumb. I'm like, you can't have it both ways, guys.
Right.
But I'm like, they're just people, too.
Yeah.
They just happen
to be famous.
And rich.
Doesn't make them any better people.
I know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, just leave them alone. But I was like, I guess if you're going to put it on Twitter, you're kind of asking for it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Just keep it private. But it certainly disrupts. There's also, I think there's more bullying towards the celebrities and more pressure on them because I think we recognize that we hold them up on a pedestal they don't belong on. So we're like, you need to behave so all the minions behave, which is us.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they're under any obligation to like be a role model. I never really have felt that. I think they need to do what they want to do, and if people follow them, that's not their fault. But I do think that like they also chose to be famous. Like they decided to do that, and so they have to kind of put up with some of the stuff that comes with that and not be too whiny about it. Like I hate people who get really famous and then are really mean to their fans, and they're like, "Oh, people are always bothering me. They want autographs. They want pictures. It's so annoying." And I get it because it would be annoying, but like you chose that lifestyle. Yeah. You wanted that, so like man up and be nice to your fans.
They're also, every time they buy your paraphernalia or whatever, or buy a ticket to your event, that's why you have the 10,000 foot house.
You have to put yourself in their place. Like most people are never going to meet a celebrity in their whole lives. And so if someone does, they get really excited about it and they want a photo and they want to talk to you and they want to, tell you how much they like your stuff. And so like that's an important moment for most people. And so you don't want to take that away from them. You don't want to be mean to them and ruin that moment for them. I know it's inconvenient and annoying, but
I think
don't become famous if you don't want to deal with that.
I think there's a little bit of a social responsibility for celebrities to set an example. I don't think it's a social responsibility that's enforceable. But if I became famous, or let's just say I have a child who hits it big, which they probably will, because come on,
obviously
my offspring. But I would want them to instruct them like, hey, you're under the limelight. You have a responsibility to act a certain way and not be a dummy. Now, if you don't, I guess that's on you. Whatever those consequences are, might not be any consequences. Maybe you ruin your career.
Right.
But if you don't, I feel like it's not as virtuous. There's some lack of virtue there. But I don't know. It's not something that you always have to be careful when you say there's a responsibility in today's culture.
Well, I don't want to hold people accountable.
People hear it as like there should be a law. I'm like,
I don't want to hold people accountable for what their fans do. That's what they did to Jordan Peterson. They're like, some of your fans are MAGA people, and so therefore you're bad. And he's like, I don't care. I don't have anything to do with what my fans do.
Yeah.
They like me and they go do something. That's stupid.
Yeah, guilty by association is one of the dumbest things.
Yeah, I hate when like someone commits a crime or like a mass shooting or something, and they go through their bookshelf and they read all the books that they have, and they're like, oh look, he had the copy of the Communist Manifesto, or he had a copy of Mein Kampf, or he had an Ayn Rand book, or he had an Ann Coulter book or something. It's like, so what? Yeah. Lots of other books you didn't talk about.
Yeah, they're cherry picking. I do this. I mean, if that ever happened to me, I have a whole bookshelf. I like to have a bookshelf of ideologies I disagree with.
Yeah.
I call it like, I keep like the Sun Tzu idea, know your enemies.
Yeah.
So if some of that happened, you could just have a field day with the books that I can keep around.
Same, yeah. Like I've got a copy of the Communist Manifesto, I read it in college. Doesn't mean I'm a communist.
Yeah.
So it's good to read about these things.
I think, and it's interesting. I would still want to...
I also have a copy of the Book of Mormon. Doesn't mean I'm a Mormon.
I would want to sit down if Karl Marx was alive, or any of these figures I think were terrible people or had terrible ideas at least. I'd still want to talk to them. What
would you talk to Marx about?
Man, I would just... All right, buddy. Yeah. Why... Especially if we could look back. If we could get him to sit down today and we look back, I would want him to let's review this.
I bet Marx
What is your name? Yeah.
I feel like Marx was more reasonable than a lot of people who came after him. I bet he would be kind of horrified by what was done in his name over the years.
I would really want to understand their view of like the human person. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know how you can justify totalitarianism, communism, fascism, if you have the right view of what a person is.
Yeah.
And I feel like some of these thinkers, I think a lot of it is just they overlook it, or they didn't have a good concept of what is the person. And if you still hold a view that's antithetical to what I think a person is, I think it's understandable where you get some of these Leninism and Marxism and stuff. Like, okay, it makes sense if that's how you view people. Mm-hmm. That's how you view the world. The logic follows.
It does.